Farmers across Europe are protesting. Higher costs, competition from abroad, and the EU's Green Deal have caused widespread anger. Polish farmers have added to that list what they say is unfair competition from an influx of Ukrainian grain and truckers after Russia's full-scale invasion. In 2022, Ukraine was forced to increase ag exports to Poland and other neighbouring countries after Russia blocked its Black Sea ports.
So we're at the Shehyni-Medyka border crossing in between Ukraine and Poland. We're currently on the Polish side, where Polish farmers are blocking Ukrainian trucks from entering into Ukraine. Currently there's around 270 trucks waiting, with one truck being let through per hour. It's part of an ongoing dispute that began in April 2023. Farmers have been protesting on and off since then. They claim that Ukrainian products entering into Poland are hurting local farmers and undercutting businesses. Ukraine has denied these accusations, but with no end to the dispute in sight, tensions look like they are only going to increase.
There's supposed to be 1 car per hour, and there is none. We have been standing for over 37 hours.
Yesterday, we went to the protesters and the police came, and the commandant of Przemysl came. We wanted to negotiate with them to let at least 2 cars through an hour. How can it only be 1 car an hour? They said that until the embassy arrives, they will not talk to us or even the police.
But Polish cars drive at night without any problems. I have sulfuric acid in a barrel for Ukrainian coke plants. I have to go outside the queue, and no one will let me. There are guys with humanitarian aid. Everyone is in a general queue. During the night, we moved twice by 40 meters.
Here are all the papers. According to the papers, I was supposed to enter on Monday. It really goes to the army. Showers, baths, and washing machines are made for the boys from these trailers. The guys are waiting. The army is calling, asking us when it will arrive. But you see, we're standing in line. On Monday, I got here at 4 o'clock. Today, it's already Wednesday. I will spend at least 2 more days here.
Given the fact that we have been observing such a small number of trucks crossing at the border of Shehyni checkpoint over the past 3 days, the fact that the protesters announced that they would not obstruct the movement of humanitarian aid to Ukraine, and the figures for the checkpoint, we can say that this is not fully true. This category of cargo is delayed at the border and waits in lines to enter Ukraine. This is a very small amount. The situation at Shehyni is the saddest.
We spoke with the military aid company's Rafal, and they confirmed to us that the order was indeed for them. While they didn't want to speak on camera, they told us separately that the blockade is causing major problems for the company. So tensions actually reached new heights on February the 11th when Polish farmers deliberately spilled Ukrainian grain, which sparked outrage over in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials condemned the action, and they highlighted the hard work of Ukrainian farmers, particularly during the wartime.
Those bastards need to be found and put in jail. The ones who spilled it. Those ones. They're some kind of special provocateurs. Not all Poles think and act like this, no. Poland is a country that has been helping us since the beginning of the war. And what are they doing now? They spill grain?
We're not against Ukraine. We want the best outcome, for there to be peace in the world. We're not on the side of Russia, as we're described in the Ukrainian media, that we're supposedly pro-Russian because we spilled that grain. Yes, we spilled it. It was bad. But it was also an expression of our powerlessness.
While the protesters we spoke to still express support for Ukraine in the war, one of the leading voices in the protest is politician Rafal Mekler. He is a member of the Confederation political party headed by far-right Putin-file Korwin, who has recognized the annexation of Crimea and rallied against sanctions on Russia. Mekler is not a farmer, but the owner of a transport company. He now stands by the farmers and made supportive statements on social media after the Polish farmers spilled the grain. We reached out to Mekler, but he didn't respond.
The dispute threatens to hurt Ukrainian-Polish relations. Despite Poland's support for Ukraine against Russian aggression, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk has warned of anti-Ukrainian sentiments growing in Poland. We spoke to people on the streets of Warsaw to see how they feel about the protests and if support for Ukraine is waning.
It's a very difficult case, because one and the other are exactly right. I would really like it to be better in Ukraine and not to have a war there. In fact, I'm with you with all my heart, but Ukrainians should also understand us.
Well, it seems to me that it shouldn't be like that. I know that some grain was scattered there or something, but it seems to me that this is not the order. Such things shouldn't be. We have to deal with the situation somehow, but definitely not to spill food.
I more than support it. The farmers are more than right. Now there is a problem. Ukrainian grains are of low quality, and our farmers, understandably, so to speak, have no money for constant spending. And here are grains that spoil everything for them.
Absolutely no impact. We support you all the time in different ways. We transfer money. Our friend's son died in the war. He was 25 years old.
We found out about it yesterday.
Simply a nightmare. Nightmare.
I think it's right that they're achieving their goals, but they're doing it in the wrong place. Maybe they have a problem and need to do something, but not at the border. It doesn't help our relations with Poland.
7.5 kilometers in one direction, 7.5 in the other. I drank half of it on the way. There's nothing to eat, nowhere to sleep. There's no fuel. There's no food. We're starving.
If only they felt it for themselves, as we did. I myself am from Zaporizhia, 20 kilometers from the front line. I don't wish this on anyone. I hear explosions every day. I have a family, a small child.
We didn't have permits to enter Warsaw. We also didn't get permits to check what's going on at the railroad when the wagons with grain arrive. So, we have no other option but this location here. That's why we're protesting here.
The government has to sign something with us so that Ukrainian grain will not flood Polish markets. The same for all Ukrainian foodstuffs. Not just grain, but oils, ingredients and others. Everything comes from Ukraine and stays in Poland. All foodstuffs. There are chemical agents, do not meet regulations. Pesticides, fertilizers that we banned some time ago. In Ukraine, everything is available. There are no standards. Everything is allowed.
Ukraine generally adheres to EU standards for chemicals. Still, Ukrainian legislation is in the process of aligning with the EU norms, which are already working in the EU. Therefore, some chemicals that are banned in the EU could still be used in Ukraine. However, in order to prevent the entry of such products with banned chemical elements, the EU and 5 neighboring member states as well conduct border tests on the remains of such banned substances or chemicals in the grains or whatever products that are entering the EU. These concerns about overwhelming Polish market with Ukrainian products, they come from the low world prices. Therefore, this has led to protests and policy debates, and Polish farmers are protesting at the border, in their opinion, because the collapse of the prices in the EU market and Polish market itself was caused by Ukraine. That Russia's export to the EU have increased over the past 2 years, unfortunately. So basically, where Polish or some other European farmers could sell their grain, Russia's already sold it at a reduced price because Russia has a possibility to bring bigger dispatches.
As predicted, the situation escalated on February 20th when protesters from across Poland blocked border crossings, ports and railways in a mass demonstration. Videos on social media showed the protesters taking over a railway track and spilling more grain from train wagons. Protesters said they will not import more grain from Ukraine as Polish silos are full. The farmers' union Desi Village publicly called for the resignation of Poland's agricultural minister unless the situation is resolved.